All right, everyone, welcome to our live stream. My name's Jordan. Glad to have you here. So these guitar workshops, these live stream workshops, are for you guys to learn, improve your technique, ask questions, clarify anything you're working on, get ideas for what new ideas to work on. So go ahead and if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll try and address them here in the live stream. And if you're watching this live stream as a replay, go ahead and put your questions in the comment section, and then I'll be sure to address them in a future live stream. And if you have ideas for topics you would like to see covered in other live streams, go ahead and put that in the comment section too. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with what we're going to do today. So today what I want to show everybody, let's get here, what I want to show you guys is basically how to improvise or how to solo on what sometimes is called like a one chord vamp, which basically means you're playing on one chord, which might not sound like you can do much with one chord. But what we'll find out today is there's a lot you can do just on one chord. So what we're going to do is go to A7. You can just go ahead and start on the A7 chord, and we're going to look at different ideas for how you could solo and get all kinds of cool ideas for A7 one chord vamp. So first, one thing you want to figure out is what scales you want to use for when you're improvising. So if you're on a dominant 7, like an A7 like this, what's really cool about that is you can use the major or the minor pentatonic most of the time, because most kind of improvising and a lot of music uses basically like blues. Blues influence so much music, and blues uses the major and minor pentatonics. Actually, they alternate between and sometimes put them together, or oftentimes put them together. So if you're doing the dominant 7 chord, you can either do your A minor pentatonic, or you could do your major pentatonic. And you can even just hear, as I'm playing through those scales, those both sound good with this chord, right? And then the minor. So if you've got a dominant 7 chord, which is the one we're starting with, you can use your major or your minor pentatonic. And so one way to approach it is just take notes out of that minor pentatonic to start. And you can see what I'm doing is you keep a rhythm. You keep a rhythm going and you keep coming back to the chord. So what's cool about guitar is we have harmony and we have melody, and we do it together. So you're kind of doing a lot when you're doing guitar. You want to do both of those, especially if you're just playing solo guitar. If you're the only one playing. So you want to keep the rhythm and the harmony going. Keep reminding the listener about the rhythm and the harmony. So you can get a rhythm going. So you can try that if you want. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we're just doing kind of like a strum, up strum, and then a percussive hit there, where you mute the strings as you hit it. Down, up, mute, up, down, up, mute, up, down. So that's a simple one you could do. So if you keep that feel and rhythm going while you solo, so you keep coming back to that. So even when I'm doing the soloing, so here's the strumming. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I solo, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. You want to keep that feel of the beat going. Right? So that's the basic idea. No matter what you do on the pentatonic, keep coming back. So that's something you always want to keep going. And so another thing you can do, instead of always going just to the pentatonic scale, even though most of what you play would sound good, and you could use blues ideas too, blues ideas from the pentatonic, but you can also just take notes right out of the chord itself. So if you look at your dominant 7 chord, let's see what notes you're playing. Even if you just go to the first octave. So you have this note, you have that note, the root and the 5th, and you have that note there, the flat 7, or the minor 7, to make it a 7th chord. So those are all the first notes in that first octave. So if you wanted to solo, you could use those notes, and those notes would sound good because they're right from this chord that you're riffing on. So if you're using that chord, and you can take other notes from the pentatonic, but see if you can mainly use those notes. Right? So there's like the minor 7th, 5th, minor 7th, 5th. And this is just a real simple way to do it, just to get started on it, just to kind of get the feel. You keep that rhythm going. And then when you feel good with that, you can add some more notes from the second octave. So what else we got? So above that, by that minor 7th, we got this guy here. We got the 3rd of the chord. And then we have this guy and this guy. So from there, we got the 5th and then the root again. And if you don't know the theory for all that, like if you're not sure what it means when I'm saying, go ahead and keep learning more about theory and the intervals in your chords and intervals on your guitar. But for now, all you need to know is just take notes that are from this chord. So any of these notes, use those notes when you solo, right? So we're going to do the rhythm and then take some of those notes. Put a little passing tone in there. So you're also taking those notes. So just kind of play around that, getting more of those chord tones in there. And then, now you have that, you can use that with some pentatonic. So now it really starts to get interesting, right? And you're still keeping that rhythm going. Pentatonic notes, little blues ideas, and come back to chord tones. Right? So I'm going to do a few more examples of that. I'm going to keep it kind of straightforward and structured. So I'm going to do some the rhythm, and then I'm going to do some pentatonic kind of blues stuff, and then I'm going to right after that do some chord tones. So see if you can kind of catch that. So rhythm, some pentatonic stuff, and then some chord tones. So let's try that same kind of idea again. Take some notes from the higher part of the pentatonic and the higher part of the chord. Okay, so that's the idea. And since this is the dominant 7, we can take some of the notes to make it interesting from the major pentatonic. And then still use notes from the dominant 7 chord right after that. Take some notes from the lower part of the scale, and then some notes from the chord, and then back to your rhythm. So as long as you keep coming back to that rhythm in the strumming, right? So you can tell the rhythm is always there. It doesn't feel like we're kind of like stopping and playing some stuff and then trying the rhythm. It feels like the rhythm's going the whole time. You want to feel like the rhythm is keep going, even when you're not actually strumming it. Okay, so that's how you can play around with. Alright, and so then let's take a look at some other ideas you can do. This is all still just on the dominant 7 chord. Same chord, right? We've been doing the same chord the whole time. We're just adding all this flavor to it to make it be interesting. Now what we're going to do is introduce some other intervals. We're going to do some sixths. So if you don't know how to play sixths, we can learn right now. So to do sixths, what you want to do, well, here's the shape, at least on the first and third strings. So that's the first sixth. It's a major sixth. And then the other two minor sixths. So that's the shape. We got third string, and then go down 2 strings and go 1 fret over. That's your shape. And then right above each other on the same fret, and then up 2 more frets. So you can just practice that. Come back and watch the replay if that's a little tricky for you, but you can definitely get it. So you can hear how that sounds, right? So that comes right from the chord, just going up in sixths. So you could think of it like this. Root note is going up the scale, but we're just harmonizing it with a sixth below it. So that's why it sounds nice. And that's based off of this position of the chord. So you can see the middle finger on that dominant 7 chord with the middle fingers playing. That's the top note of that sixth. Or the lower note, really. You could say lower in pitch. So that's how you know where to start. As long as you've got this dominant 7 chord, keep your middle finger in the same spot. Put your pointer finger, which is where your pointer finger was actually pushing that first note, but now you can just take it off the bar. So that's an easy way to find it, right? There's the chord. There's that interval. So you can find the interval pretty easy. And then you just... Okay, so let's look at how we can use the 6. So you keep the rhythm going. Right, so you get some really cool stuff. Let's keep coming back to the rhythm. So just those same intervals. Just some kind of simple ways to use it. Use all the other techniques like you see in some of the other live streams that we do. You can also use slides like I was doing. Slide, slide, slide. And that sounds really nice. Okay? And then as you noticed, you don't always have to play the 2 strings at the same time like that. You could also do the lower note to the higher note. So low, high, low, high, low, high. And that sounds really cool. And putting slides in with it too. Slide, slide. Okay, so that's how you can start putting 6ths in there. Now let's keep all the other things we had going. So we're still going on this one chord. We're going to do some pentatonic notes, some chord tones, and the 6ths. Right? And then you can just kind of change the order that you do those. So maybe we'll do a few of those ideas, and then back to the strumming, and then do other ideas. So there's some pentatonic stuff. Let's do some chord tone stuff. Now let's do these intervals. Right? So now you got all kinds of ideas for things you can do. Just experiment. Once you have the tools, once you have the ideas, you know your scale, the chord tones, and those 6, then you just mix them up and experiment until you see what sounds good. And then now you can just have a lot of fun with it once you got the tools. Okay, now we're going to look at using some thirds. So these were 6ths. Thirds are kind of like 6ths. They're just a smaller interval though. So the third we're going to start with is this one. Okay? And so that one comes from the dominant 7 of this version of the dominant 7, that voicing. So here's the dominant 7, normal voicing, but the original voicing we're using. Right? And then here's where the 4th string is the root. And you don't actually have to worry about getting this shape right now if you don't know that shape, but I just want to show you where this interval is coming from. So you can see the ring in the middle finger. It's coming right from that dominant 7 chord, but we're just going to play it with middle and pointer. Right? So we have that third. So we got this minor third, major third, and the minor third. Oops, sorry. I said that backwards. Minor third, major third, minor third. And so now you can use those. Some slides. So that's a cool way to do it. Just go up those thirds. Come back down the thirds. You can do the same idea that you did on the sixth, where you kind of play them one at a time. You can do them sliding up, sliding down. Right? So now you got thirds and sixths. Let's go back to the sixth again. And go back and forth between them. Just to keep that rhythm going. Back to the pentatonic. Chord tones. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to look at is adding in passing tones, or you can think of it as like chromatic notes, but passing tones just basically means it's notes between the normal notes you would play. So the passing tones are passing through, but you're not going to stop on the passing tones because they won't sound good if you stop there. But if you're passing through, then it sounds nice. So like if you normally would have those notes from the pentatonic, well, you can add in some passing tones in between. Passing tone, passing tone. See, those are the passing tones. Those ones in between. So we got pentatonic and then passing tones. Those are the passing tones. So instead of just going, you can go. And so where else can you do it? You got up here is the pentatonic notes on the first string. You can add in those notes in between as passing tones. So just add the notes in between. So any notes in between notes you would normally play are passing tones, as long as you just pass through them, like the name implies. So let's try that. You can add in a whole bunch all in a row. You can do them lower down on the lower strings, put some in the middle strings. We'll go ahead and put them in with some of those other ideas. So now you start to get some really cool sounds out of it, right? So you just do the intervals, passing tones, finish with the normal pentatonic idea, back to your strumming. Do that kind of idea one more time. And now, let's look at using those passing tones with the intervals. So we can make the intervals pass through some passing tones. So if the intervals normally go like this, notice how we skipped this right here. We skipped that. Well, now that can be passing tones in between this one and this one. We can do this one. So now we got. So it sounds cool as long as we don't stop there. So now you got passing tones on your sixth. Oops. Start putting all those ideas together. Some chord tones. Passing tones. So now we got all kinds of ideas. So let's add another one. So now we can use diminished chords. So diminished chords you can use in the place of the root note of the same chord that you're doing. So if you're doing this A dominant 7 chord, we can throw in some A diminished chords. So the diminished chord shape, let's do this one right here. So here's the A root note in the 4th string. This is what the diminished chord shape looks like. So middle finger, or sorry, pointer finger, and then you got over 1 fret, the ring finger, and then down right below the pointer finger, a string skipped, you have the middle finger, and the pinky is right there. So you can see each finger alternates. It goes over a fret, down a string, over a fret, down a string, over a fret, down a string. It's that same pattern. So that's a diminished 7 chord, and then that's the root note in the 4th string. So we can add that in there. So we got our A7 chord. So that's a cool sound. So anytime you find the root, playing diminished there, use that too. And so there's also a diminished chord on the 5th string, and you can use diminished chords as passing chords. So we could go just kind of playing up like that. Go back to this one. And then also, anytime there's a root, you can play the diminished. So there's also an A note root over here. So we can use that be our pinky on the root note and use the same shape that we did up here. So here the 4th string was the root note of the diminished 7 chord. Here the 1st string is the root note of the diminished 7 chord. So you can use that one too. And what you notice is diminished 7 chords, every time you go up 1, 2, 3 frets. So if you're here and then you go 1, 2, 3, it's the next diminished 7 chord, just the root is a different spot. And you can go up 1, 2, 3 again. And what happens with diminished 7th chords, because they all have the same intervals repeated throughout the chord, minor third, minor third, minor third, minor third, that means you can change the order and nothing will change because it's all the same distance between the notes, same interval. So if you change the order, you can rearrange the notes, which is what happens when you do this, when you go up from here to here. Same notes, actually. We just put them in a different order. Right, and then right here, same notes again in a different order. That's why it kind of sounds similar. It sounds higher, but you can tell it's like the same chord, because it is actually. So here's where the root note's on the 1st string, and here's where the root note's on the 2nd string. So you can use any one of those. Right, so you start throwing notes in there and it gets really interesting. Right? So all we did there, just all those different ideas we looked at, and just diminished chords in 3 different places, but it sounds like there's a lot more going on. So that's one of the ideas with kind of 1 chord vamp, is you're making it sound like there's a whole lot happening, when actually you just got a few ideas you're kind of playing with. So you can see right there, here's the 7th chord. The diminished 7th chord there includes that 6th interval we looked at. So it's right in there. So if you're doing those intervals, well, that means you can also go right into that diminished 7th chord, because those intervals that we learned about are also part of that chord, just different fingering. right? But it's the same notes. So if you're landing on that interval, well, that chord shape fits right there. So you can do it a little. Another idea. If you put in the passing tones, pentatonic, chord tones, back to the scale. All right? So we did all that just on one chord. And then let's go back to the major pentatonic. So same idea, we can do that diminished 7, but then the major pentatonic, and now we got new ideas. Okay, so then the last thing we'll look at real quick is you can change the quality of the chord, but still keep it the same root note. So we've been doing a G, sorry, not G, I think I said G 3 times. We're doing A7. But you can do different qualities of the A chord. So instead of A7, what if we did A minor 7? Right? So now it's all of a sudden it feels like we got a new feel. But you do the same idea. Still do the minor pentatonic. This time if it's minor 7, you definitely just want to stick with the minor pentatonic. Right? And now you're just coming back to the minor 7. So you still do diminished. You can also pick out chord tones from this minor 7. So just look at what notes you have in the chord and try using any of those in your solo. So you could use those are all just chord tones. See those 3 notes? That's the first 3 notes of the chord. And then that note there is that 4th string. Oh, that one's, sorry, I meant to get that 5th string. Yeah, so get that note on the 5th string. And then you do pentatonic in between. Diminish. Pentatonic ideas. And then go back to the dominant 7. With the thirds. Minor 7. Back to the dominant 7. Major pentatonic. Diminished 7. Going to the minor 7 chord tones. So you just mix them all up. Once you get comfortable with what they are and how to do them, you start mixing them all up. And then you can just go on and on. You got all kinds of ways to be creative. It's like if you're a painter and you got your painter's palette, you got all kinds of paints in there you can mix and play with different ways. Alright, so go ahead and play around with that, play around with those ideas. Hope you have a good time with that. And if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Put your questions in the comment section. I'll address them in the next live stream. If you thought this video was helpful, please go ahead and like it and subscribe so you can get notified about more videos. And hope you have a good time practicing. We'll see you at the next live stream workshop.